Alright, let's get it.
I'm sticky in this point of view.
Mm-hmm. Rolling out top left. This is a good bomb to do. I like that. Nice, good rockets. So, looks like your plan there was you're gonna have one soldier land in their saw and one soldier land directly on them, I assume.
Yeah.
Worked out well. The only thing I will say is if you're gonna have one soldier land in their saw and you're doing a double bomb, you might want to have the other soldier land in their lower because if a guy lands in their saw, they can't escape saw, and then you can just cut off their other escape by landing lower as well, instead of like, directly on them, but basically land pretty much on them, but in such a way that they have to go through you to get to lower, if that makes sense. Looks like it's just going to be an even situation and you guys are going to set up a sack, so let's see what happens.
They had like very slight ads, so I think you're just like playing passive for a minute.
No problem. If that's the case, I would recommend plugging lower specifically because, your soldier has... Well, actually, you could play cheese or lower. Your soldier has bats, so you might as well cover a different door instead of just doing nothing if you suspect a dry push. Or just an Uber ad push. Also, don't like the way that you guys sacked here because they have a gun and it's like you guys didn't even have lobby control and you're already sacking. There's no reason to rush it like that. Your demo should never be dying here, but there's no reason to rush your sack like that because you might as well just take lobby, spam down the gun, and then go. At an invite level, you never really want to sack into a gun because you have all the time in the world. The initiative's on you. So even if it takes a couple minutes to successfully spam the gun, you might as well do it. In this situation, either get out or go for a hide play. Hide play it is. This might work. Dang, he checks it. Although I think you lingered in Saw a little bit too long because what could have been better is if you met up with your medic to get a buff as he was running away, and then you went for your hide play with a buff instead. Your medic would still be able to get out, but then, that guy was still going to clear
Yeah, I
you, but you
think
would have
like
traded out.
before I went for that like hiding by saw, I think they just were called lower, so I didn't want to go out and like kind of get caught before I could go for it, so I just like committed.
Okay. I think that's a pretty decent decision that you made, though. You had a couple options then, because obviously it's their flank that's going to be coming in Saw, so you could just try to win a 1v1 on the flank and end up behind them and maybe jump cat and land on their medic from above him. Or do basically what you did and just hope they don't check you. I don't think you did anything wrong there. Because you lost a guy, I probably don't want to die here. That's unfortunate, though. This is fine. Just spotting for information, seeing if the enemy team's left lobby. Looks like they used through. This is all fine. You're just staying healthy for the post-Uber. I don't have a problem with how you played that last. They just had an ad push. But you could have gotten a buff, I suppose, when you were sitting by the box. That would have... I mean, it didn't really matter there, but you could have played drop down with a buff, which means if they fight you, you could just get a kill instead of trading out. But aside from that, nothing wrong.
Yeah, I think my combo likes to play right, so I couldn't get a buff because my mech got caught by the Uber,
Okay.
and they weren't playing left.
Well, the ideal position is to play on top of point because it gives you the option to rotate to the opposite side of their Uber regardless of where their Uber uses through. So I wouldn't recommend your team as a whole playing on one side of the map or another. Just play in such a way that you can respond to what they're doing and not just get caught out. Alright, you're opting for the same bomb because it worked last time, so no reason to fix what isn't broken. This time you got shot a lot more, which is fine, as long as your team gets across. If your team's getting across successfully, I don't mind getting shot in that situation, because your demo should be nuking them while they're all looking at you. And it seems to have happened, considering that they're dead, so... Your double bombs are working great. I like the fact that you're going pretty quickly as well, because if you wait a long time to do a double bomb, it can be good sometimes, but it's just less likely that your team can follow it up properly. That's why you'll see a lot of teams basically like almost immediately start their mids with a double bomb at an invite level, is because it just cuts out bad variables that could mess up your mid. Little off timing sat gets the medic, nicely done. I don't have a problem with that play. But, you know, the same criticism that I give to a lot of the aggressive things that you're doing is could have done it with a buff. It works with 200, but still. You're not doing situations where it's like you need to have a buff, but because you basically like were thinking about it for a couple seconds, it wasn't like a spur of the moment I'm just gonna go type thing from the looks of it, so
Yeah, like there was a call to go for it because like we got a pick and they were pressuring lower.
I see then. But it worked out. I think it was a good play. Good execution. Alright. Supporting the Uber. One good way to enter the fight, if you want to go deeper than that though, when you're coming in lower, is you can bomb off the wall, like where the windows are pretty much, bomb off left side of the wall, and go really deep, especially on left side by the truck. I think maybe you could have opened up this last push with doing that bomb, and your team running at the enemy team and just nuke them in front of the point.
Yeah, I think I just like blindsided some stickies and I just jumped into them on point and I died.
Yeah, and that's the other thing I noticed, like you're dying like right around point. Generally, you want to let your scouts bait the cap so that you can bait them and just kill everybody on the point, not the other way around, so... Usually, I'm only playing the point on soldier, like after everybody's dead and the cap is obviously ours. I like the fact that you're playing a passive position here. Well, you got their medic, so this changes things a little bit, but I liked this because there is a low likelihood that they would have killed you here, which means like even if you don't get the force or whatever coming in a mid,
Yeah,
you can still get
it's
the
like
force on second,
a
or it'll
spot
be
I use a
even.
lot because of that.
Yeah, so I like that a lot. And it's also a really good counter to a kitchen push, I think, if they take it for free, but they usually won't take for free through kitchen. Anyway, the situation becomes a little different now that you guys have ad, and you're doing what you can, just support. It's obvious they're going to go for the sack play because, you know, teams do that generally when they just lose their medic. Actually, it kind of benefits you being on sniper though, so I guess you might switch off, but you might have wanted to stay sniper here, because they're getting their spawns quick enough. I don't think you guys
I
can push
didn't I
last.
didn't think the med would have anyone to beam.
I
Like I know it
guess.
could peek in the last, but it would even out because their med didn't have anyone to spawn with, so I just wanted to go soldier.
I get that, but that's not really your responsibility. Your combo scout should be the person running back for that. I think you had a pretty good opportunity to like abuse this even last situation. I mean, not that it's bad to be on soldier, but it just seems like a little missed opportunity. This guy doesn't know you're here. Could be a free kill. Guess not. I don't like the fact that you're like doing things solo in lobby when your team doesn't have lobby control yet. Because your team can't support anything that you're doing there. Now your team is taking lobby control, so it's a lot more supportable. This guy should be a free kill. Nice. Now if I was you, I would grab a bow or buff and go in top left with a pogo. That'd be pretty good. They have a gun though, it looks like. You hear the gun,
Yeah, I was
so
just getting through. I wasn't going for a stack, I think.
yeah,
'Cause they called me too.
this is fine. I like the fact that you were patient to kill the gun. In this situation, It depends on what your medic's doing. Let's see. Your medic's in lobby, so if you get an arrow and high bomb here, this probably is a really good sack.
Yeah, I think I wanted to. Oh yeah, he does give me it.
All
But
right,
then
arrow and
they're
then
like
high
back
bomb.
at. Yep.
There it is. And oh man,
That kind of beef. My scouts. Did he
you
get it? Yeah,
misread.
he got
You
the
get the
force.
force though. Looks like you guys
That was
chose to
a.
two man. That's fine.
I
I
forgot
think
my
you played
scout came in
everything
on
fine
that.
there. The only thing is, it's not really your job, but if you're gonna be like, playing lower, at all, you might as well just peek it to see if the standard gun spot is being used, which they have been using, because that way, you would be able to spam the gun first and then go for a play aggressively, even though that guy did give you a free kill, which is what you went off. They have no soldiers up right now. That means they basically can't stop you guys from just playing the point. So I like your positioning here. Oh, that's unlucky. You knocked stickies into yourself, but that was really good. Obviously, no soldiers up means like you can't get counter jumped on that point, so on high ground. So you basically just get to shoot down on them for free. If anything, I think you could have stayed up there for a little bit longer. You sort of dropped down unnecessarily and opened yourself up to being killed, but you know, you were in the right spot. I think if you delayed your first rockets a little bit longer so that they would do more damage and directly stop them from stopping the point, and if you didn't drop down, you would have nuked even harder. So it looks like, ooh, Pogo across. This is actually pretty good. I like the fact that you're mixing up the way you're bombing now because you've done the top left high bomb 2 times in a row and it's had pretty good results, but you don't want to be too predictable. Also, if you're gonna drop down to the ground and like you're setting up to do specifically that bomb, you might as well just do as little jumps as possible so you have your crit heal, and then, as you're getting ready to bomb and you drop down to grass, you just grab your crit heal and go with a buff. So far your bombs on mid have been really good though. One thing I'm noticing quite a bit though is like this is another one of those situations. A lot of the time you're ahead of your team positionally and you're playing in aggressive places with not that much health. So you're risking dying for nothing when you do that, and I wish you would just keep up with the pace of your team instead of going ahead of them, because even though you want to be going fast, risking dying for free is just not worth it. So I would rather you like sort of exist with your team when you're about to make a decision and then go with them afterward. Also gives you a better opportunity to get buffed.
I wanted to bomb the guy on pipe, but he like jumped as soon as I went in for it, and then
Uh-huh.
I cleaned up the soldier in there.
Yeah, that's fine. Also, when you're in this situation, cheese is one of the best places you can possibly go into. Because when you're in cheese and the enemy is playing on bats, it creates a really problematic situation for them. Because if they ignore you, you can flank them and just nuke their entire combo.
Yeah,
But
that's what I
also,
was going for, but the
yeah.
soldier's in there, so
And then, of
just
course,
set
they
it up.
still have to pay attention to your team in front. So I support that play. And you lived and got your free kill, so it all worked out for you. Now in this situation, they're down both soldiers again, which means remember how it was last time, they were down both soldiers and you abused high ground and just destroyed them. So here's what you could do here to abuse it once again, is
If I remember it right, I just like high bomb type bats, and then I get a scout kill.
yes, that's what we like to see. But not specifically on bats though, land on the fence. The fence is one of the best places you can possibly land on the second, because let's say they are playing on bats, or if they're playing on point even, you land on the fence and you can still put tons of damage pressure on them, and then once it looks like they're about to start returning fire, you just dip behind the fence and play the corner. And they can't even damage you at all anymore, especially because they have no soldiers to counter jump you there. It's basically going to be free, unreturnable damage for you as long as you do that. So if you
Yeah,
land on
I might
bats, it'll
not.
be fat though.
Yeah, say I might not land up as. Oh, I might not even jump. I was thinking of the wrong
Ooh.
one.
But anyway, that's what I would have done in that situation probably, especially if
Yeah,
your team is still
I see that
aggressive.
perfectly now, but I guess my team wasn't ready, and
That's
I wasn't.
fine. One thing I will say as well is you just got your buff, their soldiers just spawned. You could definitely have gone for an off-timing sack like as soon as you get this buff go, because their soldiers are still rolling out. And it doesn't seem like a big deal, but that means there's only going to be 3 combat classes that can possibly shoot you instead of 5. So it'll make your sack slightly more successful, and plus their soldiers will be rolling out, so they won't have their crit heal, and they're not going to be healthy to get their counter sack because they can't get a good buff. So those are a couple reasons you might have wanted to go as soon as you got this buff. And of course you are going, but I think that tiny little couple second hesitation, uh, at a higher level, it might remove that advantage I just talked about. I also don't like the concept of double sacking into second as much as I like it into last
I
because
I
second's
think
so
my scout
open.
just got caught pressuring. It wasn't intentional.
Oh, okay.
My combo does hit a lot.
So you guys got a force here. Just make sure that they don't go for some feed play and kill your medic, and you should be able to push with slight ad, no problem. I like this positioning. Nice kill. Unfortunate, but you did the right thing. Just control high ground there. I wonder if you're gonna go off of this slight ad that you have.
Yeah, I'm assuming so.
At this point, you should be thinking, like, it's slight ad and we've had for quite a while. I mean, obviously we're kind of cheating because we get to see the percentages, but you still should be thinking this in your head. Like, we have like 40 ad, we've had the Uber for a little while, so at this point the medic either has like 95% or he like has it. So if I'm you getting in this situation, my only lose condition is the medic gets the Uber and saves everybody with flashes, and that way it's possible that they still hold this last. So I would basically immediately bomb and tunnel the medic here. That's just a protocol for any time the enemy is close to getting Uber like that though, because you just can't let them get it and then get the Uber off and repush and kill everybody on your team. For some reason they played it weird though. They were building really poorly because they only had 20 disad to begin with, and they set and spawn. I like the fact that you're getting a little bit more of a buff this time. Let's see what kind of bomb you do. The immediate bomb. This one is too high. You bombed. This is a mechanical failure. I can't believe they didn't shoot at you more, but you weren't even able to land on them. You had to land in front of them. That's a worst case scenario.
Yeah, I kind of beefed the jump. I went too high for like the second rocket on the jump, and I just
Yeah.
kind of.
Horizontal speed was nuked. You never want that to happen. Just a mechanical failure though, but you know, the mechanical failure made your mid bad, so there wasn't much to comment on besides it. Hmm. Did you get blinded?
No, I thought the stickies were more like on the doorway, so I thought I shot them to the side, but they were on top, so I juggled them down into me. I died.
That sucks. That type of dumb stuff just happens sometimes. Because your team's down 3, they might want to try to get aggressive here. Ideally, your team should just try to do an exchange so that you can buy time for your really good spawners that literally spawn on last, obviously. Don't do that jump. You might as well get crit heal here. This is good though. You're just controlling high ground and forcing them to back up, bully them out. That's what you want to happen. You don't really want this to actually become an exchange. You would much rather it stabilize. So you have let it stabilize. That's good. I also don't mind this position because you're sort of not in the direct line of fire. Uh, yeah, I don't mind that. But I would be really careful peeking. I guess you had a pick, but still, I would be really careful peeking drop down unbuffed because people are really looking to get free kills in drop down, and a lot of the time you're just going to get spammed down super hard and then rushed by a scout if you peek that unbuffed. Oh, I don't really agree with this play. It seemed like they ignored you going Africa. If I was you in this situation, I would completely flank behind point and try to jump on their medic from behind. I don't think supporting your soldier here was the right play. There's no reason they should not know you're here at this point. You're literally fighting that guy. You shouldn't have gotten this force. At a higher level, they
Yeah.
would have just killed you.
Maybe that scout has no audio. I don't know how he like just forgot about me.
Yeah, so
Maybe
that
he's
was
on
pretty
message
silly.
with them.
But that was a misplay. You definitely just go Africa and take your free force. Even if your soldier dies at lower, it's a worthy sacrifice. It's unfortunate though. I don't understand how you team lost everybody when you just forced them. That's not your fault, obviously. I also want to note that you actually would have been healthier for your counter sack if you didn't peek drop down so aggressively to begin with. It didn't matter there, but sometimes it will matter. So that's just another reason why you definitely want to play drop down passively to where like they have to peek into you, it's not you peeking into them.
So just like sit on the back end of the crate and just watch the doorway.
You can do that, and there's a couple of other good options. My personal
Uh,
favorite option is play on the brown box that's like to the right of the window, and that way, once I see somebody, they can't really see me until I see them, and if I see them shoot out of there, I just peek them and kill them in between their shots. So it's a really good way to avoid taking damage, but still stuff the door just as hard.
I think I just do the same bomb. I'm not sure.
Okay. I don't really think that's a good idea because it was like not good last time, but maybe if you're confident in your execution, it's fine. Another thing that I would like to see you do more is literally just getting a buff before you bomb, because let's be honest, your game plan here is clearly you're going to try to do these double bombs every mid, so why be 200 when you could be like 250 or 270? But the only way that could happen is if you just do less jumps on the rollout, so you have a full crit heal at this point, and then you drop down to grass and do that pogo, or drop down to the rock right by where your name tag is right now, and do the high bomb. So you're counter bombing their aggression, which is fine, and that was decent target prioritization. When I'm in a situation where the enemy bombs first, what I'm looking to land on is either the demo or the scouts, but I think the demo is a little higher priority, so because you landed on the scout on high ground, I think it was pretty good, but if nobody on their scouts like tries to take high ground control, I would just land on the demo. You guys seem paranoid. Hmm. Kind of bad positioning. I know hindsight is 2020, but to be fair, you were the only person that was like controlling cat and window. You kind of dropped off of high ground with no reason to.
Mm.
This would have been a pretty good time to just go for a high bomb and land on their medic because they don't even have any cap time on second at that point. One of my big philosophies for Soldier, and I guess specifically Roamer, is if you're gonna go for a sack out of last to try to force them as they're taking your second, or kill the medic in this case, it's good to do that early as possible because you want to potentially be spawning for the last hold. Because if you think about it, and this matters more on lobbies that take longer to get through, like Metalworks, for example, and Gully Wash, but let's say that you commit to like go for a play on their medic basically the exact time that they enter through the door of second. then they have all that ground to cover, which is just more time for you to spawn again. And if you spawn before they're in your last, you might as well have not died at all, pretty much. Whereas, the longer you wait, the more likely it is that you're just going to be dead for last, and it turns from like a pretty good sack to a bad sack. But it looks like you sent a
Yeah, I
guy.
was about to say I didn't go. That's why I was spamming because I knew my soldier was
That's
gonna
fine.
go. Cause
But
he was behind, I think.
I still wanted to have a chance to explain that
Yeah, I
thing I
get
talked
that.
about. And of course, in a situation where you're the person who's looking to get that med kill, like, that's the time you want to go for. I don't really like that bomb. I think at a higher level you would have got denied super hard because you kind of went like completely flat right into the scout's crosshairs and they somehow missed. I think the execution was bad.
Yeah, my soldier's plan was like he high bombs the guy top right, and I like do the skip jump into the guy top right, and we try and
Okay,
land on him. But it was just a scout that time, so it was a bit awkward.
that's kind of decent, but as far as like the philosophy of that play is concerned, you're committing so many people to kill one player top right, and top right is a position that your team can't really help with. So I don't know if that would like work on a long term, because I feel like yeah, you're almost guaranteed to kill the top right player if it works properly, but then there's also a good chance you trade out two players for it, and then it becomes a 2-for-1 against you guys. I don't know if that's very good. This is actually interesting play right here though. You might be able to
Yeah,
make a fat play on the
I think I
medic.
do. I think I do get like the med kill here.
This is a pretty good position to play for this, but I don't think it's the best position to play for this. I think actually the best position to play for this, if there's someone in lobby,
Would it be drop or?
bro, there's no one in lobby. But okay, here, look. While you wait for this play, the best position to play for this, right here. The reason why is because now they made that thing solid, so you can't even see when there's a player hiding in that corner. Look at this. And then as the medic rolls out, you just immediately kill him. They won't even check you most of the time. And nobody rolls out to second through left lobby, so you won't get cleared. So I think you played in like the second best position, but I think the best position, if you played in the best position, the medic would already be dead right now. You wouldn't even be chasing him down. But you still make the play, so it was a good play. Nice job. One thing I'm noticing is you're like rarely beefing on their medic, so I like that. Seems like your rockets are very under control and you're hitting him with the right timings. Looks like you're just trying to clear the flank with your flank scout as your team takes Saw. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think that you should have been concerned about counterbombing that guy. I think if anything, I would have just stayed top left and tried to control high ground in case anybody tried to push across on top off of that guy's bomb. Rip. One thing I'm noticing is your team is like not good at getting you buffed for your pushes. A lot of the time you're going 200, like almost every time in fact. It's partially on you, but that time it was on your medic. You just collect a free kill though, so. Now that it's evening out, I like that your team's already taking lobby. You definitely want to abuse this scout being dead. That's obviously... Oh, you're exchanging. Interesting. Maybe you thought you still had ad. But yeah, a lot of the time, if you have that scout pick, obviously there's only one scout up to deny your sack, so you want to abuse that time window. In this situation, your Uber went terrible. You have a couple of options. You could either go for a back cap, which I don't recommend because the scout, if he's good, is going to clear you. Or I guess you could just try to use this small time window where their medic is about to go lobby, but their scout's not up yet, and you could go into last and jump behind him and kill him. That'd be pretty fat. But they should clear you here. Oh, this is actually sick. So you managed to bait out a 2K. That was good actually.
That wasn't like coordinated. I just like bombed in to see what see if they've left yet, but I saw both scouts lower because my scout was called that they were chasing, so I just
Yeah.
landed on them.
Yeah, that's a fine adaptation. Had that not been the case, I would say you probably are just going to want to do a wall bomb off of like the big building, the left wall bomb, and just land on the medic. Probably the best option there. And again, like I said though, it's pretty weird that they didn't clear you there.
Yeah, I don't know why both their scouts went nowhere to chase my scout.
Yeah, pretty weird. I don't really like the way that you just entered lower. Now, when I enter lower, I also enjoy doing it with a jump, but not that jump. What I like to do instead is uh so here. You see this light that like the demo UI is above or under?
Yeah,
I play
go under.
there and I just jump off the wall and I get through the door as far as possible. And that way, if there's a demo trapping lower, I actually bait his debt and I get on him for free. And if you enter lower that way, you can kill demos for free way more often than you'd expect. Ones that like to trap that aggressive. Because they're not used to people entering with that velocity. But the way you bombed it, if there was a demo with a trap lower, you would have just died to the trap. So that's not that good. Okay. Obviously, a somewhat minor thing, but I have gotten demo picks that way. So I would say like you might as well just enter lower that way every time if you're going to lead through lower. So in this situation, you guys got two picks immediately with your Uber. I would probably just try to. Your team should be baiting the cap pretty soon, and when that happens, I would just be playing to stay healthy and kill people who meet your teammate on the cap. Because at this point, if they lose like one person to the cap, you guaranteed win. And yeah, you're doing basically what I said. You're just sticking next to your team, staying healthy, collect the free kills, and the round win. So that was fine. One thing that I'm liking about your gameplay is you don't try to do too much. That's part of the reason why I'm not having like, I don't have that much stuff to say about your gameplay compared to a lot of people that I review, but it's actually a good thing because people who try to do too much, a lot of the time they end up having bad deaths, and I really haven't seen that many bad deaths from you. So that's a positive for sure, and you're still fulfilling your role really well. In this situation, I do agree with you going into Saw. I think you need to make that read midair quicker though, because you slowed down a little bit midair, which meant the scout got another shot off on you. You would be 200 re-emerging if you didn't slow down at all. So you kind of need to just commit to it ASAP, like I'm gonna land in Saw or I'm gonna land on them, not be in between like that, and you'll have more health for it. It's also
Yeah,
weird that that
soldiers.
guy came behind.
Yeah, I don't know why that happened.
I think he counter jumped Cat probably and landed on you from behind, which is a really weird response to you making that play. I probably would have been caught off guard by that as well. I actually want to rewind that though. I hope my game doesn't crash. I'll be furious. I'll go 96.5 because I want to see how the enemy reacted to your bomb.
I think it was in dude. Yeah.
All right, let's see what happened here. That's not you. This should be you. That's not you.
No. Let's seal.
This is you. All right. Yeah, let's just watch how they reacted to your bomb. So you go, and then look right here. At this point, you need to decide. You need to decide either I'm full committing to landing on them or I'm full committing to landing behind them. And you did that in between thing, which is why the scout who's on hot right now shot you more than he should have been able to. But let's go in slow-mo just a little bit here, pay attention. And you look behind, okay, look at this. Now, as you can see, their response to you going behind them is they go forward immediately. So because this is the case, generally speaking, my response is I'm just going to re-emerge as soon as I possibly can so that I can land on them from behind. Because them going forward like this is the counter to you going into their saw. So re-emerge right here, and then, especially because look at this. Neither of their scouts is looking at you because they're focused on going forward. This is the prime situation where you just immediately jump. I think your mid would have been so much better if you just made these reads like a fraction of a second earlier. Like, a fraction of a second earlier to land in their saw and get the pack, so you're more healthy, and a fraction of a second earlier to punish them for going forward and not committing to shooting you, which means that this soldier from behind doesn't kill you in the first place. I think if you did those two things right, you would have had like, it would have gone from like a basically not that good of a mid at all to a really good mid. I like the fact that you're taking high ground here, especially because they only have one soldier alive, which means they just can't control high ground. Your med drops, rip. And now we enter probably spam
I
force
think
mode.
I just do the mid-high bomb again,
Okay.
but a scout dies at the fortunate time.
Oh, alright.
Yeah, I synced with my demo sticky.
That
That's why
was
they like all
sick.
died.
You have their medic right where you want him right now. It seems like he's never ready for your plays. I'm seeing some impressive stuff this game as far as medic playmaking is concerned, like you're salvaging for your team quite a bit. And just getting the forces, getting the med picks, I like it. Although, if I was gonna say one other thing is, as far as the execution of the bomb you did to kill that medic is concerned, I said this in my demo review for Frosty as well, but a lot of the time it's better to go a little bit lower and faster than it is to go really high like that, because think about it from the enemy's perspective. They have ad and they're walking into mid, but they don't have Uber yet. Now, if they're a good team, they understand that the only way they don't get mid for free there is if their medic dies to something like what you did. So everybody on their team should be on high alert that someone like you is going to go for a play like that at any point. So think about it, if you bomb really high, it just gives them more time to notice that you're currently going for that play and react to it properly. So if you go low and fast in that situation, it's more likely that you'll catch them off guard and you'll be able to shoot unaware players and not take much damage until you land. But they weren't as aware as they probably should have been. But at an invite level, trust me when I say everyone's already looking at the sky in that situation, so the execution matters a little more. This is another situation where you're taking lobby before your team is ready, and especially because you have ad, it's not that good, it's really risky. If you died for nothing because they just like 2v1'd you from lower with that soldier and then a scout came in right, and you died with your team having ad because you were alone, that would be like a pretty net negative thing. With that being said, your team should have lobby control already anyway. Like, your team shouldn't be getting into lobby with 95%. Your team should be getting into lobby with 80% and then preparing to use the Uber with 95%. So I think it's a problem on both ends. I think you're getting into lobby too quickly for your team, and your team is also like not getting into lobby quick enough. But regardless of who makes the mistake, the same problem emerges, which is that you're risking having people die for free and not being able to be traded out because you're not taking ground as a team properly. This is pretty good. That's unfortunate. But yeah, obviously a great fundamental is just shooting stickies off the point so your team can bait cap. That's more of a pocket thing. I always do it on pocket when I come in behind the Uber, but there's nothing wrong with doing it on roamer either. And that death was just dumb. Type of stuff happens.
I feel like I could have high bombed there.
Uh, you were down two though. This is pretty good pressure. And your team gets two picks. This is beast. Make sure that you don't die here. Just live and support your team's Uber and you should win here. I do not recommend what you did there. I think obviously an exchange is taking place at this point, but even if those rockets all hit, there's nobody on your team that's going to follow that up. You definitely needed to just shoot the soldier that tried to bomb you. And you got stuck in no man's land once you bombed left side. The right solution for that would have just been shoot the soldier that bombs you instead of shooting their spawn, and once the soldier that bombs you dies, play drop down, wait for the Uber exchange to fade, and be healthy enough to collapse on the post, and if you did that, your last push would have been fantastic. So there's not much time left in the game, and you guys need to open
Yeah,
this
I
up.
think my team thought it was like very sad, but it was like
Okay. I guess maybe you thought you had like a building ad or something, but it was an exchange, so there's no real reason it should have been ad. This is good. I like the fact that you do that utility while your team is taking ground. Like, you take no damage and you do something that helps your team, even though they're not in a position to follow you up. And then once they are more aggressive and can follow you up better, then you start to take a fight. Like, that's actually really good pacing, and that's the type of stuff that you see positionally from like invite soldiers a lot more. The only thing I don't like is the fact that you are playing under the point instead of above it. Like, I understand you wanted to get that demo pick. I think it was demo, but being on the point directly is just a guarantee you're gonna get focus fired down and die for like in like half a second.
yeah. I didn't want to like contest the height too much because they were kind of close by and I had like 120, so I felt like I would have died like quick.
You pretty much would have died either way, but
Yeah,
like the difference being though, they don't have to shoot you if you're above the point. If you're on the point, they literally have to shoot you.
I think this is almost yeah. Let's say it's garbage. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. You need to get buffs more and you need to move with your team better. Those are the biggest problems that I noticed there. Like, and both of those things aren't exclusively a you problem, they're a you and your team problem. So you need to fix the part that's your fault, and your team needs to fix the part that's their fault. And how that can happen is you need to literally be more buffable. Like, when you're in situations where you know you're about to screw off to the flank, you need to actually just be next to your medic and say, buff me, so that you can have that when you go to the flank. Instead of just, starting off on the flank or just starting off away from your medic. Because you're making it hard for your medic to buff you, but I can also tell that your medic's not looking for you for a pre-push buff as much as he should be, which is probably partially because you're not often there to get it. But it's a really big problem because it's not because you being 200 is screwing you or making you die for free or anything like that, but it's more like it limits what you're capable of accomplishing because when you're 300, you can be so much more aggressive, you can take so many more openings, and that provides a ton of value to your team and to you as a player as well. So it's really important. Get more buffs. And then, as I was talking about, you keep going into lobby before your team is ready to, which is partially because you're going ahead of your team and partially because your team should already be there. You need to discuss that a little bit because your team can't be taking lobby when you're like 95%, like I said. So you have to pay attention to what your team is doing. Even though you should be in lobby at that point, you being the first one into lobby with 200 health is actually just asking to die from a random player holding a doorway or like getting 2v1. So, like, a better team is probably going to make you die a couple times taking lobby there, and that's so unacceptable, especially when you have ad. But your team also just needs to value it more, do it sooner, especially because the sooner you take lobby means the sooner that you're able to start spotting for information. And that's so important for not only pushing, but for sacking too. Because think about this. There's a lot of times when you guys were sending your sacks into last, and you wouldn't have had the gun killed yet. And that's just not the order you want it to go in. When you sack into last, the gun needs to be already dead. There's no reason for the gun to not already be dead when you sack in. That's just silly. And, when you're pushing, obviously you can spot which side the combo is holding, which gives you information about what door you might want to use through, all that type of information. So the sooner you take lobby means the sooner you can collect information, which means your sacks and your pushes are going to both be better. But you cannot take lobby as a 200 health roamer until your team is actually able to support you and trade you out if you get 2v1'd. So I hope that all makes sense.
Yeah.
And also, your bombs on mid were really good, except for those minor mistakes like I talked about. That one time you just made those decisions a little too slow, or else you would have had a good mid by not taking the extra damage and by not getting shot in the back. Just making those reads quicker will help you out a lot. Obviously, you'll have to add it to your game anyway if you plan on pushing yourself, up a div, and all that. Uh,
Yeah, I'm like I just like moved up from like amateur to main, so I'm kind of inexperienced on like most maps.
yeah, that's
So I'm
fine.
still trying to learn.
That's fine. Of course, you're going to have a phase where you're adapting to the higher level of play, and then you're going to eventually get to the point where you're fully adapted, and then you're going to want to start moving yourself up again by just working on your game more and building higher level habits and higher level timings and gameplay, once again. So that's why a lot of the time I'll be talking about like this worked, but against an invite team, this is what would have happened. Because you have to consider number one goal is obviously you want to have success right now, but the number two goal is you want to you want to build yourself up to have success in the future because you don't want to get to a point where you have bad habits built or like you're playing sloppy in some way and then you play against people who can punish that and all of a sudden you can't have good games anymore because that's how players stagnate. So I understand that you're not like ready for that level of play yet, but I'm just trying to help you understand how to look forward in the game and like build your play style up to where it's future proof. But like I said, the rocket discipline when you were going for medic plays, that was really impressive to me. I liked that. And I also enjoyed how you didn't try to do too much. You played within your role, kept it simple, just did what you're supposed to do, and honestly didn't take that many heals doing it either. My roamer playstyle generally takes a little more heals, which is probably why, well, not why, but partially why I told you should get more buffs. But I think the fact that you were able to have this much success without taking almost any heals at all does provide value to your team because that's more heals that are going to your
Yeah,
scouts and
I
demo.
remember like a product game where I did pretty well and I had like 3% heals. I had like 200 health packs or somewhere around there.
That is also just a Koth thing though, because when you're on 5 CP, you can take a little more.
But still, I don't generally take a lot of heals on any map.
I do still think you should be looking to get more buffs though. Like I said, be more buffable, make it a higher
Yeah, like on the
priority.
catwalk mid, I should have been doing that more, but I just didn't know
Yeah,
about it.
yeah, for sure. Like, just not doing the extra jumps so that you can preserve your crit heal. That's important. Especially because you're not doing anything. Because think about what your early mid looks like on snakewater. You're standing on cat, you're making sure you don't take damage, but you're not trading damage either. So you might as well just get a crit heal anyway. So just drop down to the grass, get a crit heal, or drop down to the rock, get a crit heal. And you'll be doing the exact same mid, but you'll be doing it with 50% more health, so why not? But that's about all I have to say, so I'm gonna upload this later tonight probably.